Good morning. Welcome to this Unitarian Universalist Church, which serves our congregations here in Birmingham, in Tuscaloosa, and all of our folks online. My name is Kate Staub, and I am your worship associate for today. Our congregation is served by Reverend Julie Conradi, who is currently on sabbatical. Reverend Ruth Van Lillian is our sabbatical minister through September. But today, our guest speaker is our very own Dick Sagrato, who specializes in bringing the golden age of Hollywood to life with stories of the studios, celebrities, films, and history of that time. For those in the room, please take a look at your connection card, which can be found in your order of service, and fill it out on both sides. And when the offering plate comes around, you can place it there. Whomever you are, whoever you love, wherever you are today, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are most welcome here. The prelude prepares us for worship. Please rise in body or in spirit for the lighting of our chalice. We come to religious community from many paths and with diverse needs. If you have come here seeking comfort, may your pain be soothed. If you have come here looking for answers, may you find new questions. If you have come here seeking purpose, may your call be awakened. And if you have come here hoping to build a new way, may the path open before you. And now, in the spirit of community, please take 2 minutes to say hello to the people around you. And folks online, please greet each other in the chat.
Goodness. Good morning. So please rise in body and or spirit to sing our opening song, number 21 in the hardbacked book, For the Beauty of the Earth. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Sighs of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light, source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild, source of all to thee we raise, this our hymn of grateful praise.
Can everybody hear me? Lucifer Aldithley, I'm here with the Justice Minute. I want to talk about the Alabama's new public safety package and how it intersects the LGBT Americans. Across Birmingham, Mobile, and Huntsville, LGBT residents are already twice as likely to report street harassment or intimate partner violence. Trust in law enforcement remains fragile after years of uneven hate crime investigations. That's the landscape in which this new package lands. Mandatory 1-year gun possession sentence. Queer and trans people, especially Black trans women, often carry defensive weapons because police response times lag in their neighborhoods. A hard 1-year minimum for an unlicensed pistol could disproportionately jail victims who are trying to stay safe. Unanimous parole board requirements for violent offenses. Survivors of anti-LGBT hate crimes will now have guaranteed notice and speaking time at parole hearings and overdue when, of course. But it also may, a stricter standard may be also prolong incarcerations for queer incarcerated people who already face higher rates of sexual assault. Many LGBT immigrants, including asylum seekers fleeing anti-gay laws abroad, live in mixed-status households. State trooper cooperation with ICE will make them less willing to report hate crimes or domestic violence for fear of a traffic stop that could turn into deportation. And the profiling risk. Historical data has shown discretionary gun stops in Alabama skew towards Black and gender nonconforming individuals. Without explicit bias training mandates, the new felony upgrade could amplify this disparity. And the jail expansion fund, trans detainees are often placed in solitary for their own protection. The $180 million jail build-out should earmark dedicated safe housing units. Advocates must press the sheriffs for design transparency. And if implemented with equality checks, the package could mean fewer legal weapons at Pride, more victim voices at parole, and stable funding for LGBT survived services. If not, it risks deeper mistrust, selective policing, and overcrowded cells holding queer Alabamians.
Good morning. I am Tom Jacobs, member of the board. Our church is supported by those who call our church home and by those who support the efforts of our church to change our world for the better. If this is your first time with us, please pass the plate. We are just glad you are here. We share our cash plate every Sunday with organizations whose work reflects UU values to care for marginalized persons, advocate for real and systemic change, defend our environment, and promote justice and equity for all. Today we are sharing our plate with Greater Birmingham Ministries. We appreciate your donations and accept the forms of payment found in your order of service. Thank you for your generous support of our church and our Share the Plate recipient. May we give in love and in hope.
What wondrous love is this, O my soul, O my soul? What wondrous love is this, O my soul? What wondrous love is this that brings my heart such bliss and takes away the pain of my soul, and takes away the pain of my soul. When I was sinking down, sinking down, sinking down, and I was sinking down, sinking down, and I was sinking down beneath my sorrow's ground. Friends to me gathered round, oh my soul, friends to me gathered round, oh my soul. To love and to all friends I will sing, I will sing. To love and to all friends I will sing. To love and to all friends whose pain and sorrow mend with thanks unto the end, I will sing, with thanks unto the end, I will sing.
Now is that time in our community where we share what we carry with us on this day, joy or sorrow. For those of you watching online, please share what's on your heart and mind today in our online chat. And for those of you in person, you are invited to come forward and drop a stone in the water in honor or memory of what is on your heart today. Please come forward. Today, we lift up the family members of one of our UUCB members, Wynn Dimmick, who passed away last week. And I'm sorry if, for some of you, that's the first time you're hearing that. Arrangements are still in process for Wynn and will be communicated soon. On a very happy note, today we celebrate Keith and Jenna Webb-Weber, who welcomed baby Reed on June 13th. And there is a meal train set up for the Webb-Webers. That link has been shared in many of our online Facebook groups, but also if you go to the meal train website and just type their last name in, you can find that and support this precious family. May we keep one another in our hearts and minds in the spirit of community and love. Our meditation reading this morning is by A.J. Van Tyne, and it's called A Prayer for When Everything Crumbles to Dust. Great mystery which grounds and surrounds us, that lives within us even when everything is crumbling to dust. Be with us in our confusion, our fear, and our despair. Lead us to navigate these feelings as slowly as possible, resisting the impulse to soothe, to blame, to seek things that feel better than the hurt and the heaviness, which ultimately leave us feeling isolated and complacent or too suspicious of one another. Let us not flee from our grief, but allow our hearts to be broken open again and again and again, grieving for all that has already been lost and all that is threatened right now. Spirit of life and love and regeneration, help us to feel the wisdom that lives in our bodies. Even when so much is going wrong, our hearts beat with gratitude for our blessings, for beauty and the joy that stubbornly breaks through. Spirit of transformation, may our hearts break open and stretch out to join with the hearts of others who yearn for a freer, more just world. Each of our hearts is a building block of a better society. Each life lived for hope and resistance is a prayer for a nobler world. Amen and blessed be. May the children please come forward.
Come on up, friends. For a minute, I thought I was going to stand up here all by myself. Good morning, friends. Good morning, online friends. Good morning, sanctuary friends. I'm glad to be back with you all this week. Last week, I was in Baltimore, Maryland. It was warmer in Baltimore than it was here, like by 10 degrees. I was like, this is not what was advertised. But I was there for General Assembly, which is a big gathering of a bunch of different Unitarian Universalists from all over, from like, I think almost 600 congregations and 48 states and 3 other countries. It was very cool. But I'm glad to be back today. And I have a story to share. Are y'all ready for a story? Excellent. Okay. So long ago, but not in a fairy tale kind of a way, in a real life kind of a way, there were people who believed that everyone should be free to think, to question, and to love. And these people were called, any guesses? Unitarians and Universalists. What? Crazy. They came from different places and backgrounds, but they all shared a dream that all people have worth and dignity, and that love is stronger than hate, and that no one should be left out. But they didn't all believe the same thing about God or life or what comes after. Some people believed in many names for the holy, and some people were inspired by Jesus. Some people were inspired by science and reason, some by human wisdom, and some by the stars and sky. But they were united by their shared values of love, justice, truth, and freedom. Sound familiar? Anybody? Anybody? Starting to feel like Ferris Bueller up here. But something was missing, a symbol. Something simple and beautiful that could remind them who they were. Something that could shine like a beacon in the dark. Then came a time when the world was at war. Oh, no, exactly. In the 1940s, during World War II, people across Europe were in danger. Families were forced to flee their homes. Many were being hurt because of their religion or their race or their ideas. It was a time of fear and great sadness. But even in the darkness, there were helpers. One of those helpers was a man named Reverend Charles Joy, who was a Unitarian minister who was working with the Unitarian Service Committee. He and many others were working secretly and bravely to help refugees escape to safety, especially Jewish families and others who were being hunted by the Nazis. But they needed a symbol, something they could put on documents or on papers, put on signs, something that people could recognize. Even if they didn't speak the same language, something that said, this is from people who will help you and you are safe. Do you have any guesses what that might be that they decided to come up with? What do you think, Kate? Oh my gosh, you are so right. So Reverend Joy turned to a kind-hearted artist named Hans Deutsch, someone help me with German, Hans Deutsch. Hans had escaped the Nazis himself, but wanted to do something meaningful. He listened to the stories and to the values, the people he was helping, and he picked up his pencil. He drew a simple, graceful cup, a chalice, and placed a flame inside of it. It was inspired by old symbols from ancient times like the chalice of communion, or the Olympic flame, or the lamp of knowledge, or the sacred fire from temples long ago. The flaming chalice was born. At first, it was used quietly, almost like a secret handshake. But it began to mean more and more. To the refugees, it meant hope. To the helpers, it meant courage. And to those who saw it years later, it meant something even greater, a promise to be on the side of love. And after the war ended, the Unitarians and the Universalist communities adopted the flaming chalice as their symbol of their faith. And when they joined together as Unitarian Universalists in 1961, the chalice became their shared life. Today, Unitarian Universalists light the flaming chalice whenever they gather, in churches, in classrooms. Do we have chalices in our classrooms? Don't shake your head. No real fire. We don't have fire downstairs, grown-ups. Even the big kids, we don't have fire because we don't want to burn the building down. So, but some people have them at their living rooms or at camps or even in hospitals. Some chalices are glass, some are brass, some are clay, some are made by children's hands. Some might be tattooed on certain people in the room. But each one carries the same spirit. The chalice is open, like our hearts and minds. The flame is bright, like truth and justice. And the light is shared, because everyone has a spark to give. Sometimes we light it to celebrate. Sometimes we light it to remember. Sometimes we light it to begin again. And when we do, we say words that remind us of our values. Words like, we light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. So now, if you ever see a small flame in a chalice-shaped bowl on a table or on a necklace, or in your classroom or any other center circle, you'll know it's not just a symbol. It's a living reminder of the many people, past and present, who believe in justice, love, and freedom. And you, each of you, are now a part of that story. Because the flame keeps burning wherever people carry the light. The end. And grown-ups, would you be so kind as to sing us downstairs?
Let's get you up there.
Oh, she's got to sing them down.
That's okay. Go ahead, Esther. It'll take you minutes to set up.
Person is worthwhile
Do you need anything?
to be
No, I got my water.
3, we help each other learn. 4, and search for what is true. 5,
I have low blood pressure, and I have to get me going.
6, build a just and peaceful world. 7, we take care of the earth. That
Mic is
will bring
live.
us
Huh?
The mic is live.
the end.
It is? I just turned it on. Woo! Save it for the end. My name is Dick Segreto, and I presume you can hear me now, correct? Today's presentation, it's not a presentation, today's message is anti-Semitism and the Hollywood moguls. Anti-Semitism is defined by the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance, and that's a lot of words. They define anti-Semitism as that there are many people that have hatred towards Jews. And that hatred is manifested in verbal abuse and physical violence towards Jews and other individuals that may be perceived to be sympathetic to Jews. That violence is against their places where they live, places where they work, their businesses, their institutions, and religious facilities. Now, the Jewish people have been subjected to anti-Semitism and hatred and abuse for over 2,000 years. But they've been very resilient and they've survived. The Hollywood moguls. Many of the Hollywood moguls were born in America, and many of them immigrated from European countries to America. They all wanted to live the American dream, experience the American dream, and to assimilate into American culture. But there was always resistance and restrictions that they had to deal with. There were quotas at colleges and universities and medical schools. They were always facing difficult times. They came from poor to moderate income families. They were very industrious and very ambitious. The industries that they found that were accepted in and they became very successful in was the various retail trades. But most of the movie moguls came from the clothing industry. And the clothing industry in the late 1890s and early 1900s, they were all operating in New York garment district. And they were very successful. During that same period of time, Thomas Edison invented the motion picture camera. And he had invented it, and then he was able to charge royalty fees for film producers who were using his equipment. All the films in the early days of films were produced in New York and New Jersey. But those film producers found that the wide open spaces of Southern California, particularly Hollywood, was ideal because of its temperate climate and wide open spaces to film westerns and adventure films. They also realized, hey, we're in California. We're not going to pay Thomas Edison any of his royalty fees. And they got away with it. The film industry during the silent film age where most of the producers of film worked in their garages. There was only one major studio during the silent film era. And it wasn't owned by Jews. It was founded by Charlie Chaplin, Mary Pickford, Douglas Fairbanks, and W.D. Griffith. Back in New York in 1890s and early 1900s, where did Jewish people really survive and make money at? Entertainment. That's what they were good at. Minstrels, clowns, singers, dancers, comedians, actors, actresses. They performed in circuses and minstrel shows, on stage, burlesque houses, and vaudeville. Some of the great entertainers of that time were the Marx Brothers, Fanny Brice, Eddie Cantor, Al Jolson. And you're going to hear about all of those names in just a minute because they were all entered in the motion picture industry. Those performers and many other Jewish performers laid the groundwork and paved the way for those Jewish moguls, those entrepreneurs, to seek out the film industry, because it was in the beginning. Guess what? When they went to the film industry, there were no restrictions, there were no quotas. In fact, they were welcome there. The Hollywood studios. All of the major Hollywood studios were founded by Jewish entrepreneurs. Columbia Studios were the Coen brothers, Harry and Jack. The Warner Brothers were Polish Jewish immigrants, founded Warner Brothers Studios. Fox Studios was William Fox. RKO Studios was founded by David Sarnoff. Paramount Studios was founded by Adolf Zucker. And the granddaddy of them all, the biggest, which became the biggest and the most powerful studio in Hollywood, is MGM. And it was founded by Louis B. Mayer, Samuel Goldwyn, and Marcus Lowe. Those studios were thriving at that time. They were making many films. And it enabled those Jewish entrepreneurs to finally be able to assimilate into American culture. And with all those films produced, they were able to fulfill their vision of the American dream. Backlash. In the 1930s, with the rise of Nazism in Germany and in Europe, and this may be a surprise to some of you, and the United States, there was a big Nazi party involvement in the United States during the 30s. Many Jewish entertainers from Europe immigrated to America, to Hollywood particularly. Hedy Lamarr, film directors Billy Wilder and Michael Curtiz, and actors like Peter Lorre and Paul Heinrich. And there were many American Jewish actors that were fearful of any backlash, that had very Jewish names, so they changed their names to assimilate into the film industry and not be persecuted. People like Nathan Birnbaum was George Burns. Bernard Schwartz was Tony Curtis. And Doris Persky was Lauren Bacall. And there were many, many others. This is a binder I have that has all the Jewish actors and actresses, and it's about 10 pages long, and it gives the decades that they were born in. Anyway, at that time, the heads, the studio heads, the owners, decided not to have any Jewish characters on the silver screen. And during World War II, they decided not to have the word Holocaust in any films for fear of backlash. It wasn't until the 1950s that the first Jewish characters were on the silver screen. Films that you're probably very familiar with, Diary of Anne Frank, Moses in the Ten Commandments, Ben-Hur in the film Ben-Hur. It wasn't until the 1960s that we started seeing strong Jewish characters on the silver screen, like Rosalind Russell in the film Majority of One. Let's not forget Barbara Streisand portraying Fanny Brice in Funny Girl. And by the way, she won an Oscar that night at the Oscar celebration for Best Actress for that film. What you probably didn't know is that was a major milestone. This event never happened before that evening and never happened since. There was a tie for a lead role by an actress in a motion picture, and that second actress to walk home with that Oscar was Katharine Hepburn in the film Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. Jewish culture began to appear in the 60s and 70s. Films like Fiddler on the Roof, films with like Gene Wilder and the Frisco Kid, and Richard Dreyfuss in the film The Apprenticeship of Dudley Kravitz. And during the 60s and 70s, there was Jewish entertainers were thriving, and there were many Jewish comedians entering the scene. And in 1979, Time magazine ran a poll, and they wanted to find out how many Jewish comedians what was the percentage of Jewish comedians? And that was over 80%. Comedians like Don Rickles, Jackie Mason, Buddy Hackett, Rodney Dangerfield, Mike Nichols, Elaine May, and Joan Rivers. I could go on and on. In those days, I had every one of their albums. I used to do impressions of Jackie Mason. He talked like this. I don't know if you know who Jackie Mason is, but that's how he talked. There was a landmark film in I skipped something. There were many Jewish entertainers that people like Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, Woody Allen, and Neil Simon. They began to produce and direct films that was a reflection of their own Jewish culture onto the screen and was very successful. But in 1947, there was a landmark film, and it was Gentleman's Agreement. Gentleman's Agreement was about the rise of anti-Semitism in post-World War II in America. The plot line is a news reporter, played by Gregory Peck, was doing a story investigating that, and he posed as a Jew to get more realistic what was going on. That film and other films that were produced during that time was bringing the awareness of the anti-Semitism at that time. And this is kind of not off the cuff. This wasn't part of my speech. I'm just going to improvise this. And if you remember the McCarthy hearings and the anti-communist hearings, and they went after the Hollywood people, they were going after the Jews because they I don't know why, but they were particularly going after the Jewish community, writers, producers, directors. The film Gentleman's Agreement did very well at the box office, and it did very well at the Oscars. It was nominated for 8 Academy Awards and won 3. Best Picture, Best Director for Jewish director Elia Kazan, and Best Supporting Actress for Celeste Holm. The golden age of Hollywood. Wait a minute, you ain't heard nothing yet. That was a 1929 film produced by Warner Brothers, starring Al Jolson and the Jazz Singer. And that was a major milestone in film history because it was the first talkie film ever produced. And that film marked the beginning of the golden age of Hollywood. And it lasted for over 20 years, and that was my favorite time of those films. And during those over 20 years, there were 7,500 films produced. 83 million people were going to the motion picture theater an average of once a week. And that was during the Great Depression and World War II. The studios were thriving at that time. They were giving audiences a wide range of films to help them survive and get through those difficult times. There was lavish musicals, epic costume adventures, westerns, comedy, drama, love stories, and yes, even animated films like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Audiences laughed at the comedies of W.C. Fields, Marx Brothers, and Bob Hope. And they fell in love with a curly-haired little girl named Shirley Temple. The golden age of Hollywood was known for its glamour, its glitter, its romance, its elegance. It was a time celebrities were created and legends were born. And Ed Sullivan, a noted columnist, reporter, wanted to find out who the king and queen of Hollywood was. So he ran a poll in his newspaper column. Over 2 million people voted. In 1938, the king and queen of Hollywood, Clark Gable and Myrna Loy. The studio system. The studio system was instituted by those entrepreneurs, the owners of the studios. They wanted to be able to keep tabs and keep control of cost and production and everything. So all the studios had hired all the employees of their studios had to sign a contract, and they were making a weekly salary. That's everybody, actors, actresses, directors, producers, cinematographers, they all were employees of the studio. And then to keep tabs and control of distribution costs, the major studios owned all of the motion picture theaters across the country. And those studio heads relied on their producers to come up with film projects. Film projects like, the film producers like Irving Thalberg, David O. Selznick, and Darryl Zanuck. But it all came crashing down in 1948. There was a Supreme Court ruling, Paramount versus United States, and the Supreme Court ruled that Hollywood had a monopoly on production in theaters. So they made them sell off their theaters. And the theaters, actually, it didn't end until really the mid-1950s. The American Film Institute is an organization that ranks and rates films. They have their top 100 list of all times. And in the top 5 films of their top 100 list, 3 of them are from the golden age of Hollywood. Number 1, Citizen Kane. Number 2, Casablanca. Number 3, Godfather. Number 4, Gone with the Wind. And number 5, Lawrence of Arabia. And the American Film Institute also came up with 1 year. There's 1 year in the entire history of the film industry that created more of the greatest films of all time than any other year in film history. And that year was 1939. Films like Gone with the Wind, The Wizard of Oz, Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, Ninotchka, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Stagecoach, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. Okay, folks, in closing, I'm going to share with you a story about the first Jewish president of the United States. And it's a phone conversation that he has with his mother, who he's inviting to the White House to celebrate Purim, a Jewish holiday. And the conversation goes like this. Ma, I'd like to invite you to the White House to celebrate Purim. But son, I didn't know. I got to pack. I got to make all those arrangements and take care of all my affairs. No, Mom, I'm going to send someone over to help you pack, take care of all the arrangements and all your affairs. But son, I don't know. I got to drive to the airport. I got to find a place to park. I don't know. Mom, I'm the president of the United States. I'm going to send a limo to pick you up and take you to the airport. Oh, son, I got to deal with those x-ray machines and people searching me and standing in those long lines. Mom, the limo will take you to the airport. You'll board Air Force One, and they'll bring you to the White House. Oh, but I don't want to be in any trouble. Where would I stay? Mom, the White House has 21 bedrooms, no problem. No problem. Oh, I don't know, son. Mom, listen, we really would love to have you come to Washington to celebrate Purim. Okay, I'll come. She hangs up. She picks up the phone, calls her best friend, Seal. Seal, I'm going to celebrate Purim with my son. No, not the doctor, the other one. Thank you.
I was asking, no? Yes, it's on now. All right, now please rise and join in singing our closing song. It's in the Teal Book. It's number 1017, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger every day. We are building a new way. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. We are working to be free. Hate and greed and jealousy. We are working to be free. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. We can feed our every need. Start with love, that is a seed. We can feed our very need. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Peace and freedom is our cry. Without these, this world will die. Peace and freedom is our cry.
Fun.
The lyrics of that song are a good segue. Terry, if you want to come up. Peace and freedom is our cry. And Terry's going to share something with us.
This is what I send to my representatives, and I have been up here before, and I was asked to do it again. Now, as you're willing and able, I'd like for you to participate. There's 6 words that I'm going to want you to shout out. And I'm sorry that I didn't make this bigger, but it was my last-minute awareness. And so I'm first going to ask you to respond to this, and I'll put my pen up here. Lead us from despair to hope. Lead us from fear to trust. Lead us from from hate to love. From death to life. From falsehood to truth. From war to peace. Let peace fill our hearts, our world, our universe.
Thank you, Terry. We're going to try to have some copies of that printed next week. All right, a couple of announcements before we go. I am on the UUCT Partnership Committee along with Paul Mansell. We would really love to have some new members. We only meet once a month. It's on Zoom, and it's really fun. The folks in Tuscaloosa are so awesome to partner with, and we've got a lot of stuff that we're planning together. We would love to have more members from Birmingham. So if you're interested, just check with me or Paul. On that same vein, UUCT is going to have their summer potluck in Tuscaloosa on July 13th. So all of our members and friends are invited to attend. Maybe some folks from Birmingham could carpool up there. So that is July 13th. Also, our partnership committee is planning to attend the 50th annual Black Belt Folk Roots Festival. This is in August, and it's in Eutaw, Alabama. This festival brings together musicians, dancers, storytellers, chefs, artists, and community members, and it's just a really great time, and it's a great community to support. So we will share more details soon and have a link to set up for carpooling. As I mentioned earlier, there's a meal train set up for the Webb-Weber family. Look for the link on Facebook. We'll try to have some printouts next week as well with a QR code, but you can also just go to the website, type in their name, and find that. Tomorrow is the last day to make your 2024-2025 pledge, so please send a check to the main office or break out your phones, get on your Venmo, PayPal, or Zelle app, and get those final payments in. As you know, we are facing a budget deficit, and truly every penny counts towards balancing our budget and sustaining the life of our church. You can also contribute by participating in our silent auction, which I think is ending soon. So you would just browse the art in this room and check out the binder in the back and bid on the art, or go to the cash and carry table. And all of the proceeds go to the budget and funding our deficit. And so many of our wonderful members donated this art so it could be sold. So yeah, don't miss an opportunity to buy some great art. And lastly, if you have requested a name tag from the main office, there is a basket in the narthex that is overflowing with name tags, so please check it on your way out. And I'll extinguish the chalice now. As we extinguish our chalice today, let us continue to grow as citizens of our communities, our nation, and our world. Let us work to build the common good for ourselves and for the generations to come. May it be so.